Hello and welcome to Sisters Assembled, your home for all things MCU. And we are super excited about this episode covering the back half, so episodes 4 through 6 of Ironheart. It was a crazy ride. I personally have something that I'm really excited to get off my chest, and if you listened to last episode, you definitely know what it is. But like always, I will toss it off to Kate first so that she gets her 2 cents in, and then I will chime in with how excited I was yesterday watching the episodes.
I think we're gonna come at this differently.
I know we are, because I remember last episode.
It's not even just that though. I mean, I don't think it was bad. Right? Like, I'm not gonna sit there and say like it's the worst we've ever seen. It wasn't by any means. It didn't like I wasn't like either by it though. Like I know
We definitely feel differently about this.
I knew we would, which is why I was like, as soon as you were setting that up, I was like, oh, this is gonna be hard. I don't know. It's not that like I said, it wasn't bad. Like, as a watch, it was a good watch. But like, I just kind of was like, nah. That truly, I was just like, this is fine. That's all I have to say,
I don't know.
Well, okay. I know why you like it. Like,
I
know,
like it for a lot of reasons.
But I know your feelings. Let me try to better articulate mine. I think I didn't like the ending. I mean, but I understood it. But I didn't understand at the same time because I kind of was
qualms
like,
with the ending too. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
It wasn't perfect. But
it wasn't
overall
and
liked
I didn't expect perfect. You don't expect perfect. But I do think like I was a little bit I think you have a character who starts a little bit gray because of the whole like money to buy her suit kind of thing, and that's how she kind of gets involved in everything. That is what sets this entire show up. And then to kind of have seen that she didn't really grow, I was like,
that was my qualm.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that sucked. And I kind of wanted her to tell, and we'll get to that. I won't be the first one to say this, but I wanted her to tell that person to essentially like shove it, and just be like, because you're better than Parker too. Like, that was supposed to be the whole point. And then I was like, no, you just proved you're exactly like the whole time when Parker was like, you and I are the same. Like, we're both criminals. Like, we're exactly like, you just proved that.
Yeah.
I also hated the whole thing with Ezekiel because it's exactly what I didn't want them to do. And that's exactly what they ended up doing. And I was like, okay. I don't know. It just like it was not bad, but I just wasn't like enamored by it. Like, it felt like a little bit of a chore to watch all the episodes. Yeah.
Wow, you and I had a very different experience. Okay.
Great, this is gonna be such a good episode then.
I know, we never do this. We're almost always like in lockstep. Okay. I need to start with the thing and say the name because y'all know I have been in my theory with my theory hat on my soapbox since the predictions. I was the one who uttered it in the predictions. I uttered it last episode, and what Katie kept saying to me, no, it's going to be Dormammu.
No, I said it would make more sense for it to be Dormammu, and I want it to be comic accurate. So do not put words in my mouth.
Anyway, some of us held to our beliefs, and it was interesting.
Believed it wouldn't
be. It was interesting because they did set it up like it was going to be Dormammu. So I thought that was actually a really smart like move of trolling to be like, we know. Well, one, we know what the comic is.
As soon as they did that, I was like, it's not Dormammu. Like, as soon as they did that, though,
I was in denial. So
dang.
Anyway, they set it up like it was going to be Dormammu. She called him Dormammu. And the great thing was, it was after you had already seen his reflection in the spoon. I mean, first of all, we knew that Sacha Baron Cohen had been... We didn't know. We were 90% sure as a fandom that Sacha Baron Cohen had been cast as Mephisto. So as soon as that man rolled onto my screen, I was like, so it's happening. Like, I got up off my couch and I was like... the moment is here. I have, in fact, nailed it. And so I was very excited. Then it took so long until we saw the spoon. When we saw the spoon, I think I cried. And then when he said his name and he was like, no, I'm not Dormammu, I'm Mephisto. I got up. I feel so bad for my downstairs neighbor. I got up. I did my version of a happy dance, which is like a lot of really rapid knee raises. And I was
It
like
is.
trying so yeah, some people have tried to imitate it. It's a very special type of knee raise. Anyway, I was so excited. I was like trying to muffle my screams. Such a big way to be right. And also, I think such a good opportunity. I know you had your qualms about bringing Mephisto in at this stage. And I know I've seen a lot of articles talking about, is this the right time? Is it too late? Did they miss the boat? I'm not denying that that's a valid consideration. However, I think that there's a lot of opportunity here, and I'm really excited. I do want to go back to what you were saying, though, about Riri taking his deal. That bothered me because up until that
Yeah.
point, I was like tracking. I was like, heck yeah. And then that was her moment to show that she had learned her lesson and to say, I saw what I did when we're going to put in a little pun here, not really, sort of, dance with the devil. She took the deal of the devil in the form of Parker early on. It nearly killed her. It nearly killed her family. She lost nearly everything. Then, just beyond bodily harm, it destroyed or nearly destroyed almost all of her relationships. And so you would think that she would have learned from that. And instead, she took a similar deal without even knowing the price this time. And I was like, girl. Now, you can say, if you're giving her the benefit of the doubt, a little bit of growth is that instead of doing it for material things, she did it to literally raise Natalie from the dead. If we're giving her the benefit of the doubt, but overall, an extremely disappointing turn of events for me in the last 5 minutes.
See, but that also really bothered me because this was the first 3 episodes was a case study on grief
Mm-hmm.
and survivor's guilt. And it really didn't sit right with me that, and I get like the whole idea is, I mean, we've all lost somebody in our lives. I know the whole concept is, if given the opportunity, would you bring them back? And in this case, she was like, heck yeah. Like, of course I would. But I think it just didn't, because they were talking about this grief and you were expecting, like, I was expecting her to have the moment with the AI Natalie before AI Natalie left and like was dissipated and whatever else happened, like whatever that was that exactly happened there. And then I think to kind of just see that she was like, no, throw away all my morals. Like, I'd rather just have her back. And I get it, but I just think like, then I didn't, that emotional part of the story just like, to me, flew out the window because I was like, well, dang, like you literally made a deal with the devil to do that. And I don't know. I just didn't really, it didn't hit for me. And I do think like, they do say, okay, and obviously time is subjective. They say whatever, time will heal all wounds. And you could tell like it was still a huge struggle for her. But I think having AI Natalie was really actually in its own way very helpful. And I am sad that instead it pushed her towards making this decision more because she lost her almost again. But I was hoping that now that she kind of lost her the second time as an adult, she'd handle it in a different way. Instead of running away, she'd sit there and really face her feelings and grow in that capacity and remember to honor her best friend and be able to have those moments they shared together rather than where it kind of went. So like that also bothered me. I was like, the whole concept here bothers me. And I think then obviously now we have to think about the long term here. The bigger role here is the fact that Mephisto has his claws in her and she's involved in Doomsday. And so like now that has to be a through line because we already saw that she's being poisoned by his magic. And I'm a little unsure how that's going to work for her because for Parker, it was using the Hood's power that was continuously poisoning him. But now you have the living embodiment of something that would be poisoning you. So I don't know if that's going to poison her quicker. Like, I don't know how that's going to work, but now we have to get her disconnected from Mephisto.
Yeah, two things. I think in terms of the poisoning itself, I actually think my personal interpretation of what was happening to Parker, it was not just tied to the use of the hood, though that was obviously like his conduit. I actually think if you notice, not every time that he wore the hood were the, I don't know, veins growing. It was actually when he did something against those he loved that you noticed it, right? Like
Mm.
when he attacked one of his teammates, you saw it go up his neck. When he attacked his father, I think it goes up his neck. It's when he does the things against those who, and obviously there's no love lost between him and his father, but when you do things against the people that you're supposed to love, I think it was more his embracing of the darkness, I think, that was showing it. And I think in Riri's case, it was this idea of less about her hurting the ones that she loves and more like her willingness to play in the gray. Because I think what happened with Natalie was that it reinforced that there are shortcuts, that you don't have to deal with grief because my guy over here, he can just bring it back. So
Yeah.
it was almost like the joy that she felt in that moment of the idea that she never has to deal with this again is like what's going to be, I think, her big temptation. Because why not bring back Gary next? Like, there are literally endless possibilities for her to be able, or John even. Like, I know she has a complicated relationship, obviously, with him, but she also carries a lot of guilt because of his death, because she murdered him. So she could literally undo things that she's done just by working with Mephisto. So I think for her, it's like this idea of like not really having almost any consequences. And that's where I think her temptation is going to come from. So I don't
Yeah.
know how that's going to translate to Doomsday, because that's interesting. Because now you've got Doom and Mephisto. I,
Right.
I mean,
Which is
how
my
does that
concern of
work?
what I voiced last week and why I didn't want it to be Mephisto, because we've spent 4 years waiting for him and now we're worrying about something so very different. So to the articles, like, shout out, because I agree obviously that I'm like, this is the weirdest time to bring it in. I also do think I didn't vibe with the magic and tech mesh the way I wanted to. And I'll be honest, I really wanted to. Didn't vibe. I did, and this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. I did really like that they had Parker turn into that demon thing that I talked about when we did an entire episode about him.
Yeah.
Loved that, because I was like, this is what I'm talking about. However, also though, caveat to that is Riri witnessed that and was like, let me still make a deal with the devil. Like, I was like, girl.
Not only that, but from a purely visual standpoint, the CGI there got so weird. Like that there were not a lot of times in this show where I was like, ooh,
Well,
cringe a
because
little
they've been
bit.
doing Iron Man for a million years. So, like,
Right, but even
yeah.
like some of the stuff where he's fading in and out with the hood, like that's a little bit easier stuff, but still. And then even when he's doing, he's growing I don't know if they're veins. I'm going to call them veins. When he's like the veins are growing, things like that. Like there was magic happening, or when she's loading the magic into the suit. All of that looked really really good. And then they got to Demon Parker and I was like, what is going on? Like it was just like a 10-second shot max, and I was like, whoa, needs a little TLC, folks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I noticed that as bad, because I was more so kind of geeking that they actually did it. So I do kind of think I was like, oh my God, shut up. But I will say, I just like back to the whole magic and tech mesh. Obviously, that was the story of this entire show, because you had the bad guy with magic, you had Riri with her tech. It wasn't really the suit part that bothered me. It was, first off, and I don't remember their names, but the mom and daughter at the candy shop. What the heck? Like, as soon as, and I think that's where they lost me, because that already happened in 4, I think, and if not, it was
Yeah.
early 5, and I was like, and now part of me was like, I'm kind of happy we get to see magic in the real world, and we get to see more of these witches, because we ran into a lot of them with Agatha. Even with her singing the song, like, we see how many witches she took onto the witch's road with her, or quote unquote took on to the witch's road with her. But like, I am so like, I liked it for that aspect. Quite frankly though, came out of the blue, and I was like, what just happened? And now suddenly, like, we have this young witch who I was just like, this is giving Wizards of Waverly Place. And I don't know. I really didn't vibe with this entire section of the show. And then I did enjoy when they like name drop Camertage and stuff of that nature. Don't get me wrong. But I think when you have a show that's so grounded, and I understand, okay, he's using magic, but like he's not out here doing hexes and crap like Wanda does or Doctor Strange or any of that. Like he's not doing, our choo choo choo. And for those of you who can see me, you can see me kind of doing the little dancey dances,
What are you doing? But now I see.
No, all I think about is Anthony Mackie being like, she's at a rave the whole movie. Like that's all I'm thinking about. But I mean, obviously he's not out here doing that. So it didn't feel like that, like aggressive magic. You're like, okay, to your point, he's fading in and out. He's like doing, he's not doing anything
Bending the
too crazy.
bullets.
Yeah, nothing like insane. I mean, we got people who do that on the regular who don't use magic. That's not weird to me. But I don't know. It just, as soon as it switched to that more magical side where like we're seeing this witch in real time and everything, I was like, this is really taking me out of this show. Like, this entire side quest, which I see the purpose for it, but like I didn't like it.
That's super interesting. I really didn't mind it from that perspective at all. I thought, to your point, I was able to kind of be like, hey, I understand. Like, she's going to need some way to understand this magic. Like, she is a person of science. This is not going to work for Riri to suddenly become a master of the mystic arts. So I thought it was interesting to bring in someone that was already in her community, because I think the reason that I liked that actually is, if you think about, is it Benjamin Bratt is the actor's name? The guy that Mordo goes after in that end credit scene that we malign all of the time. He is just a regular guy, did his stint at Camertage, learned how to use magic, literally funnels it to be able to walk now, and just goes about his regular life. So I kind of like that we're calling back to this idea that not everybody who goes to Camertage becomes a Doctor Strange, becomes a Sorcerer Supreme, lives there, does the whole thing. They take it and they apply it to their lives. And in this case, she left Camertage. I think she was pregnant, she said, when she left. She had her child and has been teaching her child kind of in her free time. So I think there's like a nice little familial aspect to that too. And because they were able to tie it to Camertage, and we're able to then see how it fits into the larger magical realm versus just like, here's Wanda and Doctor Strange and Wong, and then here's everybody in Ironheart. Like, the fact that there's a connection there, I think made it feel, again, like we're firmly situated in the MCU, but we're not over relying on it. The same beautiful balance they had from the first part. So again, like, I liked it for all of those reasons. I thought it made a lot of sense and connected the dots in what's going on in the wider universe.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that respect, I was a fan, and that's what I did like. And I do think I understand its point for the story. It just didn't mesh for me. And I don't know, like I said, it really took me immediately out of Riri's story. And I think from there was like, dang, I really don't want to watch this right now. Like, I actually really had to be like, you have to, because you have to record this later. But like, I literally was like, this just, if it could give me an ick, it gave me an ick. Like,
Wild.
and I don't know if it's because there was like not much build up to it either. I like, maybe if I had been more familiar with this, like this girl had been around, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the names, but she had been around like in the first or second episode, or they like had an interaction elsewhere, but like they just went and visited this person. Next thing I know, they're doing magic. Like,
Well, I think her mom was in the scene when Riri
her
first
mom.
comes home.
Yeah. But like,
So there's a connect. Like, it wasn't totally out of the blue.
Yes, but it focused so much on the kid that like she felt weird because the mom was not included then. Like, also shout out, her mom's on Abbott Elementary. But
I was gonna say, with the hat, immediately she rolled up with the hat, and I was like,
what am I watching?
So no, good. She's so good.
I really got thrown off for a second because I was like, wait. But I just think because the kid was the bigger part of the story then, that I don't know. It didn't feel right? It felt like they had to be like, we need a way to what you said. We need a way to connect Riri to more of the magical element. What's our best option? And they chose this. And I was like, I actually don't know if that is. And actually, it's not about cameos, guys. It actually is not. But I actually feel very weird about the fact that Wong, as the Sorcerer Supreme, did not show up at all in this show because I mean, first off, Mephisto is literally like involved, but the Hood is using all this magic. Like, I was so thrown off to not have him appear when he literally was in like She Hulk. For
Which
what
was a
reason?
wild choice that I,
Right.
to
Like,
this day,
why
don't
was
really
he in that
understand.
show, but he didn't show up in a show that actually has magic in it?
Because Benedict Wong. No, they filmed this years ago. I was going to say because Benedict Wong is filming Doomsday.
No, he probably literally was already at Marvel Studios doing a cameo elsewhere. Like, he was right there. I don't know why. To me, that would have made more sense to have him pop up, be like, yo, this is some crazy crap. Him semi explain it to Riri, figure out the science side of it and move forward rather than have these like relatively random characters come in doing magic and they play such a big part in how she kind of connects it. Like, I don't know. Also, again, it seems like such a very large threat that I'm like, Wong. And even when it was strange, I was like, y'all have shown up like a lot less. Like, as soon as Loki showed up on Earth, they were like, ah, oh
Okay,
my
but
god.
to be fair, Loki led an invasion of Earth previously.
Yes, he has. But I will also say, on the magical realm, like, seems like a concern when the devil has his hands on someone and is like actively doing things. Like, my point being is they were like that with Loki and now like they're not to be seen. That just feels strange. Pun
Well,
intended.
I do. This is where it gets interesting about timeline because here's the thing: if
Did you
this,
clock it?
what was it? The over 15 years, so that puts us 2023
2023.
or later. Which I was
But
like,
not
I
much
got,
later.
I got excited, and then I went back, put on the closed captions, watched it again, and then I was like, but that's not that helpful.
Well,
It
because if you
is and
think
it
about it,
isn't.
it's already 6 months after Black Panther 2.
Yeah,
And that was 2022 to begin with. So like it makes sense, but
thereabouts.
like yeah, but it think about now where the MCU was technically now in 2020 our 2023 but versus their 2023. Like we're not thinking 2025. So all the events that have since happened did not happen yet.
Well, and here's the thing that I wanted to point out because I'm not sure where it falls in relation to MOM, but to what you were saying about Wong not showing up, Wanda did a lot of devastation to Kamertage, everyone there, and I'm sure, I mean, then there was She Hulk and like confusion, but like, I really wish that cameo had never happened. But
Yeah. I no, actually I just wish they'd give a better timeline of all of phase 4 cuz especially
right,
phase 4 is such a horrible like mashed up
everything was
potato
just
thing.
like, I'm
Yeah, and so it's actually
confused.
really hard to understand where certain characters may or may not be during these time periods.
Right. My point that I was trying to get to and like also finding caveats as I'm explaining it is like there was so much done by Wanda to Kamertage. It's very possible that he is focused at this time period on rebuilding, working on like protecting them, and he just does not have the same level of bandwidth to, fix other things. You would think the devil might be a priority, but again, we don't know what's
You'd
going on.
think.
Maybe it's happening at the same time. Who the heck knows? Like nobody genuinely has any idea what's happening. I don't even remember when they told us MOM is
Well,
supposed to be
I
set.
guess my thing though is if you think about it, their whole concept is like they're trying to protect the world from magical like problems. Cuz remember when
Right.
they like explain it, they're like, well, there's these types of problems, but then there's magical problems, and that's where we come in. And so I'm like, I get it if Camertage needs to be like rebuilt. That doesn't mean that you could just be like, oh no, I don't see that there's magical problems right now out in the world. Like, you can't just stop your day job to rebuild. Like, it doesn't work like that. So I hear you, but I'm also like, hey, you kind of still need to be looking out for magical threats. And I feel like having Mephisto as a player now on the board, and obviously, like, again, the Hood is also active and using magic regularly and things of that nature. Like, this feels like something you address.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I'll be curious how they integrate Mephisto moving forward. I know last episode I put forth the idea of like he's been quietly operating in the background on a few key moments. I think he can be really subtle if you want him to be. I think even the way he manipulated Parker, he's just working with this one dude, but he also says like to Parker, I've got others. So he's working with Parker, he's working with whoever else he can tempt. And I'm just so curious, like, what is his end game and what is he trying to get out of all of this,
Yeah.
and where are they going to slot him in, both potentially retroactively and then also moving forward. So he's a big question mark for me, but he's one that I'm excited for them to explore. I think obviously he has to at some point come into conflict with the folks at Comertage because that feels right. I also think he should be the one who resurrects Wanda, in my humble opinion. Either him or Doom.
Yes.
Like, either one I think works well. But, I think it would be a really nice symmetry if he was the one who resurrected Wanda, because we missed out on that whole storyline with her kids. Though I still put a plug in for the fact that in my headcanon, he's the one who had her hear their names from throughout the multiverse. He made that possible in my particular head. So I think that's interesting. I want to pivot away from the magic, and I want to talk about something that you brought up earlier in the episode that I think we should explore more, and that's Ezekiel Stain, because I know you mentioned you didn't like the direction that they took him in. I am not surprised. I think after last episode, I did do a little bit of like research into him. He is a villain in the comics. So I was like,
Not
all right,
shocking.
yeah, like our gut reaction, which was pre research, our gut reaction was pretty on point. I think that I'm not upset with what they did with him because it was not about his father, and it was not about Tony Stark. It was about Riri, and like that betrayal ultimately put him over the edge. And I think that was where
Yeah.
we kind of drew the line last week of like, if he's going to be a villain, he has to be Riri's villain. And I do think it was also good then that they had that conversation in the kitchen where he's saying to her, yeah, kiddo, like you and me, we're good right now in this moment, but we're gonna have to hash this out. So saving him for later, again, focus on Riri, not Obadiah, not Tony, not any of that. Though fascinating the way that Obadiah has been put on a pedestal. That was wild.
I agree and I don't agree. I agree in the way, because I even straight up said I was the one who mentioned he needs to be Riri's villain, not Tony's. So I'm not mad with where he fully went by the end of the episode, because I even said, I was like, I don't know if she'd have a season 2, but set him up for a season 2. Like, I'm not angry about that. I actually think what bothered me was that middle episode, which I would think would be 5. I don't know. When you watch them all in a row, they blend a little bit
Yeah.
together. Where one, he puts that tech in his body, because I was like, what are
Gross.
we doing?
That was wild. No, I was
Yeah,
not into that.
I was very like, what just happened and how did we get here? But then that episode when he confronts Riri and he's supposed to kill her. And that's the only part that really bothered me, because and it might have been also there that he mentions the whole, like, I get it now, like the power and stuff, which I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay. But then I was like, okay. He even made the comment, these iron freaks and all that. And I was like, I know while you're saying like it wasn't a connection, right there it was the connection. And I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I was like, do not do that right now to Riri. And I liked that they almost remedied it by the end by
Mm-hmm.
making it, no, Riri, you hurt me and you messed up and you screwed me. And so we're not cool and I will probably be back. And that's fine. But it was that moment specifically outside the White Castle where I was like, oh God, this is going the exact way I did not want them to do it. And I'm glad they fixed it. But I also was like, we didn't need to go there to begin with. Like, I just wish we hadn't even stepped in that area because he didn't want to be his father. And like, I think that's what bothered me is I was like, you just made him his father. You made him exactly what he just said he never wanted to be as a character. And I don't know, I kind of had a soft spot for him that I was like, this guy's been fighting that his whole life. He literally changed his name for it. Like, if he's going to be a bad guy, and again, they remedied this by the end, but if he's going to be a bad guy, let him be a bad guy for his own reasons and not because he is becoming like his father. That just is so aggravating to me.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I forgot about the scene outside the White Castle. It was like a unfortunate side quest that I think because they were able to fix it by the end of the series, I was like, okay, good. Like we did the thing and we fixed the character. But yeah, I think you're right. That part is a little hairy. I don't know what it is with like Tony and Tony adjacent people and
My
daddy
God.
issues. Like
I
it is
know.
just constant. It's
Everybody's
insane.
child is like, you hurt my father, or like, so, and I'm like, oh my God.
And Tony's like entire life is like my dad didn't love me, which is awful. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but like the man like literally was like in his late 40s when he died, early 50s, and was still talking about the fact that his dad didn't love him, and he still held a grudge against Captain America because his dad knew Captain America. Like, girl, got it together. And then all of his villains are also like my father, your father, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why?
literally. It's like
Every
Iron
time.
Man or daddy issues. It's hard to tell.
Honestly though. But Ezekiel Stain, I hope we see him again. Great. The actor did a great job. Again, I can literally picture his name. No idea how to say it or pronounce it. So I'm not even going to try. But Han Solo Jr., you did a great job. I'm hoping that you're back.
Yeah. Like I said, it was remedied, so I wasn't angry by the end with that. I was like, this makes sense. That middle part though, really. But that's and honestly, if we sat here, this is the only thing I don't love about the way they're doing this. Because if we sat here going episode by episode, there might be very different reactions. But because we're watching them in bulk, I'm like, well, I don't really know. Cause like I know I had some feelings here and some feelings there and then some feelings over here, but it was like, but you watch it all, like it all blends together. I honestly don't even remember I don't even remember half of the things that have happened in this show. And I
It
only
does
watched
make it
it a
hard.
little while
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, like I watched it later than everybody else and I still am like, I think those are the main points, but I feel like I'm missing something because I don't really remember. It all just blends into one main storyline, which is the problem with anything that you binge. Like I feel the same way. Like I'm like, how did we get here? I don't even remember the whole middle part.
Literally, me every time I rewatch The Summer I Turned Pretty, except now I have it memorized. So I'm
I was
just
gonna
like,
say no,
I
I
know.
have it literally memorized, so
Yeah.
I'm
But like
good.
the first and second time, I was like, how did we get here again? Like, how did we go from fun summer to this is sad? Anyway, moving on. I do want to talk about the important and interesting comments that producer Ryan Coogler King made before the premiere of the show, which is that this show would lead directly into Doomsday. We touched on this a little bit in relation to Mephisto and Riri and that whole scene in the booth and the ramifications.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally feel like I now have a clear idea of how Riri Williams is going to find herself in Doomsday, because I think when we had Wong on the table, I was like, that's the key. That's how she gets connected to Bruce, Carol. I think that's looking like that's going to shape up to be Sam's Avengers. So Shang-Chi, all those guys. All right, now I see it. We
Mm-hmm.
did not have that cameo, and I'm not saying the show needed it to make it better, but the show needed it to bring her in. So I don't have a clear idea of where the recruitment of Riri Williams happens and how she ends up in the big battle.
Well, actually, my other concern also is we have a time jump. This show isn't coming out in
True.
2025, 2026 of the MCU. It's coming out in 2023 of the MCU. So if you're thinking we're roughly at probably maybe 2026, 2027 even in the MCU, well, like that's what? 3, 4, 5 years that we could have between this and Doomsday. So I think actually my concern lies there. But in itself, I think it offers opportunity. Riri is clearly going to go down the same path of Parker. She's down it already. She's doing what she's doing. So I think that being said, I think Wong or Strange has to intervene. I think it has to happen because quite frankly, like, what else are you supposed to do? And so I think the only way is for them to show up and be like, yo, what the heck is happening here? And then free Riri and she ends up, because I also am trying so hard. And this is where I hate this. This is why I'm so mad they decided to make it Mephisto when Dormammu, not only just comic accurate, but also the fact that his entire dimension is also fully involved in the events that are coming soon. It bothers me so much because now I'm like, what do you do with the devil during Doomsday and Secret Wars? What do you do with that? And how do you free this character? It's gonna happen. Like, is it gonna happen off screen now? Like, what exactly is going? Which would just bother
Then,
me so wholeheartedly that I'd sit there and be like, "This is why we don't do what we do because this is the problem."
well, yeah,
But
because what's the point of her even making the deal with the devil if you're going to
right,
do it off
so you just
screen? What are
wasted
the
my time.
ramifications? I don't
You
get
just
it.
wasted my time.
Yeah.
And so I think that whole situation, that is why I'm angry about the whole Mephisto thing happening now, because I don't know what role this man is supposed to play in these bigger stories, but we now have this overhanging part that we have to address. Plus, we have that end credit scene where Parker lived, which we talked about. We were like, yeah, he should. Theoretically, we take the hood from him and he's like fine. But now he's also like, I watch everything with subtitles. Don't worry. I saw when he said Supreme, it had the big S. It had the big S. So I know he says he needs something supreme, and it's the big S. This is why I
Interesting.
watch with subtitles.
As a
That's
language major, I'm very tired of watching with
well,
subtitles.
that is
So
not the first time though in the MCU I've caught things because it's
yeah.
in the subtitles, and so I noticed that immediately, and I was like, okay. So adding that in, he's searching for a connection essentially to Comitage, which is going to be so interesting because he's Mordo's worst enemy. Like, he is literally everything
Literally,
Mordo would hate.
though.
Like, and if
Literally,
he goes and
though.
trains in Comitage, like, that's crazy. But you still have Mephisto and you have Riri out here being actively a pawn of his. And now both these characters are on the board, and we know she for 100% is going to be joining us in Doomsday. And he could join us in Doomsday. He could be a member of Comitage by then because years have passed. So I'm this is where I think this left me so very angry because I'm like, are you kidding me? Because we had such a good way for this to possibly set things up. And now I feel more confused than anything. Also, sorry, just to add, Shuri will probably bring her into Doomsday.
Good point.
Because
Good point.
unless they are going to do this off screen, which I cannot think they would do, but they have done this stuff before. Different directors, they've done this kind of crap where like that the next director's like, I don't really want to have to address that, and then they just don't.
Thor's eye on a very small scale.
Thor's eye, the whole Mordo end credit scene that still is up in the air because the next director was like, ah ha ha, what do you mean? What do you mean?
When
Like,
does the villain?
but let me bring him back anyway in a different universe. Like, I was like, oh, okay. So like they either ignore it or they handle it off screen, and then we're just as fans like, oh, okay. Like, I guess that just happened. So unless they're going to do that, I would think Shuri would be the one to somehow involve Riri. But again, that leaves the extra pawn of, hey, Riri's involved with the literal devil. So how do we balance that?
Well,
Don't say something
is-
I'm not gonna like because it's just gonna annoy me.
I don't think you're gonna dislike this. I think it might open an avenue of thought, but I don't
Okay.
think that you're gonna feel strongly in the dislike. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know who said that Riri's gonna be a good guy.
Okay.
It could be fascinating to watch her fall that far. She has this connection to Shuri, to your point. I forgot about that. She's not completely lost in terms of like not on anybody's radar. It's possible that she plays for the wrong team.
I mean, they do talk a lot about bringing in like oh, what's the one? And they always had Tom Cruise for some reason as the
Oh, I know what you mean.
yes.
The version of Iron Man who's like a low-key villain, and
Yes.
it's like
And I
Sup
and he's
is
also
it
been on the
Supreme Iron Man or
Illuminati.
something like that?
I don't know. I don't remember. But if y'all know what I'm talking about, all the fan casting always had like Tom Cruise for some reason. I don't know
It was a
why.
big rumor in the MOM era.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um I know there's also been talk with that involved, like that version of Iron Man's involvement possibly in like a Doomsday. So maybe she plays that part instead. I mean, let's be real, RDJ's literally playing 4 roles. He is overtime at this point. So, and now I understand why he was paid so much because Jesus. But maybe she's kind of filling in that spot cuz I mean, it's not going to be completely comic accurate. Obviously, we all know this, but I think, I expect Strange to be on with Doom. That's something you expect when you know the Secret Wars stories. Obviously, we don't.
Unless, like, what if that's the sub?
Right. Well, that's my point. Like, what if she plays kind of that double role in there? And like,
I hope not, because I'm pretty sure Strange is murdered. So, like, I'm not ready to say goodbye to Riri.
well, she also doesn't actually know how to use the magic she has infused in her suit. So, like, I don't like she used it for 0.5 seconds. So, I really don't personally feel like that's a strong draw unless in its own way Mephisto helps her there as well. I don't know. Her deal with the devil is very different than what Parker's was. And Parker's led itself to possibly using more magic and things of that nature because that's how he was going to get what he wanted. Versus for her, it literally was bringing somebody back from the dead. So, like, which again is a strange parallel to what Wanda's story was kind of supposed to be. So, I don't know. It's like honestly, it's kind of giving Echo, where it's kind of like they were trying to go for something a little different than what we're used to going, but instead they're kind of almost telling somebody else's story in the meantime because they didn't tell it with that character. Which is again why I'm mad they brought in Mephisto now. Because I'm like, we had the opportunity to have him really meddle with Wanda. And now I'm like, where does this go for Riri? I don't know.
Yeah, it's very odd. I don't know. I mean, the one thing I can think of is the reason they tied these two together is knowing that she's potentially a candidate for the Young Avengers slash Champions, depending on name wise. It's the way to bring Mephisto closer to the twins. I don't
But
know
at
if
this point,
that's
I'm like, that's tired. We've done what we had to do with the twins. Like, you made your own story the way you need to make the story work. Like, you could have brought him in. Again, you could have brought him in 4 years ago, and I would have been like, now you brought him in, and I'm just like, now I'm annoyed. Now I'm annoyed you're here. Like,
even at the MOM stage, I feel like it would have made so much more sense. I don't
yes.
know. It is.
And
Look,
it would have been really interesting because, hey, okay, give me the mic. Because I could
girl.
go off about this. How many times did we say, even poor Elizabeth Olsen says that she's like, it felt really weird to suddenly be a villain. Like, I don't know where that switch up fully happened. Hey, actually, if Mephisto would have been poisoning her, like your theory where like he's the one who made her hear the voices. Hey, if that would have actually been fully true, but they played it out there instead of just having her like suddenly fully 180 and go entirely nuts, this would have made a lot more sense.
are they gonna Black Widow this? Like in the sense of like retcon, but like not just like filling in a blank.
And try and say like he was behind it. I mean,
I don't know how
honestly,
you fit that in a Doomsday. Like there's
I
gonna
don't
be
know how
so
you
much
fit that, but at
happening.
least it would make me feel a little better because like
Unless, like in the process of bringing her back, they show us the longer relationship that they've had.
yeah. Or how
A
he
little
plays a
more
role with the
natural, a little
Darkhold
clunky,
or
but still.
something of that nature. Like, fine. And that's why I said, I'm like, that wouldn't even make me that mad because, like, it would, in my way, justify enough. Because, like, I genuinely, one of my biggest complaints, although Mommy Wanda, love to see her, has no wrongs. Like, I don't care what she does. She can kill everybody on the Illuminati and more. And I'll be like, she's right. So I don't really care what she does. But that bothered me so much. And knowing it also bothered Lizzie so much
Yeah.
that she's like, when they actually show me a good script, I'll be back. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy work. You had that girl in the MCU since what, 2014? Like 2015? No,
2015.
no. Winter Soldier end credit. 2014.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Don't
that.
worry. Don't worry. All my babes showed up in that movie. So, well, Loki didn't, but whatever. I know
His
what
scepter
I'm talking
did,
about.
though.
You're right. But either way, I think to aggravate one of your actors who's playing such a big role like that, like really made me feel validated in that. So, like, if you're gonna kind of try to retcon a little bit of that, again, should have done it. Don't know why you wouldn't have. But
And in an era where she's about to have so much opportunity on the X-Men side of things, like wild, like actually
I just sit
insane.
here like bewildered.
No, it's honestly, when you hired a writer who didn't feel like he needed to watch the the prequel, red flags.
Do you go to a
I don't know what
400
else to
level
say.
class without doing the 101, 200, and 300? No.
I know, wild. Like that man thought he could just like test into MOM and
He was
not
like,
be like,
this seems like
let
it's
me
fine.
see how she got here.
Yeah.
Excuse you?
Yep.
Excuse you.
Yep.
No.
So I actually wouldn't even be mad. I really wouldn't be if they just like retconned him in that way. And then at least to
Speaking
me, it
it to
justifies
existence.
her. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I think it justifies her actions a lot more because I also think, as far as her character always went, I was like, she did the villain arc. That was the point of Ultron, and she came around and she grew up. And like, I understand the Darkhold's supposed to like corrupt as well, but I was like, I just don't see her doing all of that so quickly and going down that road so fast. So I would actually really like Mephisto kind of involved more. I think that makes more sense. I do wish, though, again, they brought him in earlier because you had Agatha as somebody who you could have played around with his character as well. Like, there were just a lot of opportunities. And now I'm still like, how does this whole puzzle piece, because it's not just Riri anymore. Now it's Riri and Mephisto have to fit into Doomsday and they have to fit into Battle World. And I don't know, like it's hard
Yeah.
for me.
It is. No, it definitely is like quite the pickle. Like, as someone who is advocating hard for Mephisto, I don't negate that it does bring up a lot of overarching narrative issues.
Yeah.
I didn't want the character to just never happen because they missed the window, but
No, for
this
sure.
particular window creates a lot of challenges. I wonder, like, does it become a situation where, because Shuri and Wanda interacted in Infinity War, right? I know
Yes.
Okoye Wanda did, but
Yes,
I'm
because
thinking
Wanda was up with trying to protect Vision, and that's when she jumped down to interact with Okoye, and
that's
she was
right.
like, "Why was she up there?"
Well, that was the scene I was thinking about, but I couldn't remember the scene before. Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I could see a Shuri, trying to help Riri. I don't know where this fits into a Doomsday, or if there's something that, like, this storyline is hinted at in a Doomsday and then explored in a later project, like almost like, you know, almost actually the way that the actual comic is done. So if you guys aren't like super familiar with the Secret Wars comic, the 2017 version, it's one main continuity. That's the one that I read, or one primary story. But then there are all these lines that shoot off of it, and other stories where they go deeper into some of the stories that are only hinted at in the like main story. I don't know that they will adapt that format, but I think that it would be really cool if they did, because one of the stories that they could offshoot is, hey, Wanda, my friend here, she's got a problem with the devil. You are, magical. You understand this. You're the Scarlet Witch. Wanda, little beknownst to Shuri, has already this connection to Mephisto, like we've theorized, has already come out from under potentially, a deal with him, and can be that kind of mentor to help bring Shuri back from the brink. I think that could be really fascinating. I don't know that they're going to do that, but I would love to see that. I think it would be really cool to see Wanda be able to redeem herself by helping someone who was in a similar situation to her. And I think Riri needs someone who is in the superhero realm to truly get her. Like, her mom is lovely, and her mom can get her from a maternal perspective, her friends from a friendship perspective, and understanding who she was growing up. And that is very important. Your day ones, gotta have them, super foundational. But for where Riri is now, not one single person there can truly relate to the level that she's playing at.
Yeah.
And I think her having a mentor, could be Shuri, could be Wanda, to help her through all of this would be immensely helpful, and also get her to that place where she's learning from her mistakes and not rinsing and repeating them in a different color.
Yeah, and I think, well, that's definitely a valid point. I also think to add, as far as Mephisto goes, regardless, and because we're talking about what it looks like in Doomsday and who it plays with and whatever. I mean, maybe this is just a bigger piece of that puzzle, and I would be down for that kind of thought process. I really do like the concept that she could be a bad guy, like what you mentioned earlier. I do like that idea. I think it's a little strange this is the character you're doing that with, just because she's also not, like, well established. She's been in 2
Yeah.
properties, one of them
Yeah.
being her own. So, I'm not, and also took 3.5 years to get her second one. So, I definitely feel like that's strange in its own way. I don't know, man. I really don't. But to see how it the only way I could also think that if it bleeds directly into Doomsday, it has to be because of Mephisto. Or they didn't have that end credit scene for nothing. It has to deal with the hood.
Yeah, or Kamertage. Like, that is
Well,
the
but that's what I
avenue.
mean. Like, I would
Yeah.
imagine he's going to try and get involved there in some capacity. And that's somehow, because, here's a thought. Who was the person who wanted to bargain 17 million times with Dormammu, Doctor Strange? Hey, Kamertage, Doctor Strange, kind of literally the entirely same world. Maybe we actually get a hood that's more from the dark dimension, and he actually ends up connected towards Dormammu and dark magic and everything else from the dark. Like, I think that could be so interesting, actually.
Where is the hood? Not Parker. Like, not the
Yeah,
entity, the physical hood.
they never. The last I remember seeing it is they show it with her when she's in the suit holding it, and then I never remember seeing it again.
Well, yeah, because she brings it into the scene with Mephisto. He basically ejects her out of her own suit. The suit goes away. To where?
And we never see it.
Yeah. Just food for thought. What a powerful magical item that's now
Missing.
unaccounted for.
Just unknown. Yeah.
Like bangles and other nega bands, which I guess is technically the bangle. Or was it the other thing? I don't even remember anymore.
I don't know.
So many powerful items
And
that
honestly,
may or may not
quite
ever
frankly,
be important.
it doesn't seem like they care, so I'm not caring until they tell me I need to.
I mean, here's my thing. And this is the perfect way to end all of this. There's a lot of loose threads that are all supposedly tying into Doomsday and Secret Wars. At this rate, to tie up the loose ends, because there's only one film before Doomsday, right? Fantastic Four, yeah.
No.
Two.
Well, they haven't officially moved Spider-Man yet.
Two. I forgot Fantastic Four still hasn't come out because it's literally all over my timeline. So it's like to the point where I'm like, it hasn't come out yet. I feel like it's everywhere. Not in a bad way, but
talk about marketing. Jesus.
I know. That is when they put the dollars behind.
Yeah,
I
literally.
mean, it's Pedro Pascal and also the Fantastic Four. But
still, I was like, holy crap. I feel like you've been marketing it for like 2 months already, and we still have almost a whole month until it comes out.
No, they really were like, we're going ham.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is we've got 2 films to basically get us to Doomsday or tie up loose ends. Fantastic Four is not going to do that. They're introducing an entirely new team that is probably not existing on 616 if we are to be believing that 616 is the main continuity that we're watching in the MCU, which I know a lot of people, including our good friend who plays Kamala Khan, feel strongly that it may not be. That aside.
Well, the Fantastic Four movie won't. The end credit probably will.
Yes, but it won't tie up loose ends. It will
No,
move
but
us
it
towards
will move
Doomsday.
us towards. Yes.
Spider-Man may tie up some.
It might not
loose
even
ends.
happen. It might not even happen.
Don't.
But they're saying the rumor is that movie may still get moved to go in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So, like, that being said, that might
actually. I'm about to just rip these headphones off and walk away.
But my point just being is, like, we can't even rely on that because that movie is still subject to be moved.
Why are you Captain Marveling this? Like, did we not learn? That's the thing.
Because I think they were trying to go multiversal with it. So whatever happens in that movie does tie into between those two.
You just put the Punisher in it.
Which is why it might stay.
Okay, I think they
had to pivot. I think they probably had 2 routes for this, and I think they're pivoting.
I don't disagree, mostly because that's what I hope happened.
No, but literally same.
To finish my thought here, what I was trying to get to is there is a lot of loose ends.
Yeah.
Both Doomsday and Secret Wars will each have to be 4 hours long for them to be able to wrap things up in a point where we can soft reboot and not be like, dang, we're never going to see that again. Dang, those 10 rings. I mean, we're going to see the 10 rings, so that's a really bad example. But thinking about magical and powerful relics, that hood, never going to see it again. Those mega bands or whatever they had from the Marvels, because I think it could have been 2 things. I can't remember which one they actually went with. Never gonna see those again. There's a whole host of Mordo, never gonna see him again. Like, there's a whole host of things that they're going to soft reboot this whole universe with, never addressing.
Yeah.
And if anything has put this into stark relief, it was the fact that they chose to introduce Mephisto in Phase 6.
Yes.
I guess this is Phase 6?
Yes.
I don't know. End of 5,
Thunderbolts was the official wrap-up of Phase 5.
Okay, great. Yeah. In the first project of Phase 6.
Yep.
Marvel. Girls, what are we doing?
This is why I was campaigning against it. Because I was like, we had 4 years to get here. We had 4 years.
And so much content came out. So we have not been bored.
You know,
it's crazy.
You know, let me in the room for phases 7 through 9. Because if it's especially going to be mutants. Oh.
Don't screw the pooch on this one, guys. This is like literally the biggest moment. I mean, okay, Secret Wars is huge, but the X-Men.
But the X-Men. My dog is named after one of them. Like, don't screw this up. Please. Yeah. I'm literally begging. Whatever phases 4 through 6 were in its own entirety. I granted, okay, whatever. I know you guys had to pivot. Didn't expect the whole Kang situation. I understand. That wasn't looking good to begin with. So I don't know what to tell you, but for the love of God, when we end this, please, I'm begging, do the mutants the right way. I better see House of M. Okay, period, the end. I better see House of M happen. And if I don't, riot in the street.
House of M, and good Lord, you have all of the characters. If you don't give me a beautiful culminating Avengers versus X-Men moment.
No, literally.
I might have to rethink my membership in the fandom for a minute just for my own sanity.
No fair. I'm going to have to argue. Such a hot take. But
oh no.
I need Mr. Sinister to
that's not a hot take. That is so valid. If we do not, he's the one villain who they have, like, there have been a million X-Men movies in live action. If they choose in this round not to do a Mr. Sinister, it is such an absolute farce. Like, What are you doing? What are
I
you
need to
doing?
see him kidnap Cyclops and Jean Grey 17 times. Okay? It just makes me have so much joy. And I need it. Please give it to me. They're just like, I will overlook whatever happened the past 3 phases. And listen, there's ups and downs. There's ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like even this show, like I may consider rewatching it in one swoop and maybe I'll feel a little differently about it. I don't know what it was. There were just things that didn't work for me and it really tainted a lot for it. But there's been ups, there's been downs. We know that. I mean, half the fandom is like angry all the time. So I get
Yeah.
it. You know, I mean, I don't get some of the hate. It's for wrong reasons and we don't stand with those reasons. But like I understand not liking things for actual reasons for not liking them.
Narrative reasons only,
Yes, like
please.
Love and Thunder and Secret Invasion. We get that. We
Objectively
get it.
bad.
But for the love of God, do not mess up the mutants. Also, you're tapping into a completely different section of the Marvel fan base.
That
so
fan
you
base.
don't want to get there.
I say this with the utmost respect. They go hard. They go so
I commend.
So hard.
I live for the X-Men side of the Marvel fandom. Like
I mean,
the mutant
they
people
have been done dirty over the years in live action. They've been eating on the animation for sure.
Oh,
But they have been so done dirty on the live action and they are so ready. And I think, unfortunately, phases 4 through 6 have made them concerned. Like, I feel like
me too.
the moon in 2019 was like, yes. And now the moon is like, yes? Question mark? Like, big question mark?
Yeah.
So, that's going to be an extremely interesting ride. I think we got an interesting tap into that fan base when we looked at X-Men 97.
For sure.
And I'll be very excited to be able to work with those folks and see their reactions when they go into live action, because that's going to be a very different era for us as an MCU. Pumped.
I just want to see Gambit and Rogue.
I mean, I know.
I really do. We deserve it. That's all. That's all. And now my Gambit's getting up because I said his name. But that's great.
I think now that we've used Riri's show and used Ironheart as a conduit for essentially, oh my gosh, there is a lot that needs to happen still in the MCU, and we have so much on the horizon that's literally not on the slate at all, that we're all just hoping lives there in Kevin Feige's brain. We're going to wrap it because this is no longer about Ironheart. I personally loved it. Kate's jury is still out, but
I'll let you know if I rewatch it and how I feel.
Yes. We will be continuing to come at you with more Marvel updates. Not sure exactly what that's going to look like quite yet, but soon enough we'll be in our Fantastic Four era, and I will be personally very insufferable. So I apologize, but I don't. So get ready. And you can
me during Thunderbolts.
No, really though, when you hit that character and or actor and it's just like the one, like there's no stopping us. Yes. So make sure you're checking out the website. That is the hub for all things related to the show, subscribing on your podcast platform of choice, and checking out our Buy Me a Coffee link. If you're enjoying the stuff that we're putting out, you can help support us and let us make the show better by checking that out in the show notes.
You guys can also follow us on all of our socials, which are linked in the show notes down below. And we hope you guys enjoyed Ironheart, or semi-enjoyed it, or something of that nature. But either way, let us know what you thought in our comments and everything else. We'd love to hear your opinions. It's fun for us to get out of our bubble, although we disagreed on this one. So that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, but let us know what you thought of Ironheart, and we will be moving into Fantastic Four pretty quickly. So keep an eye out for that stuff. And until then, Marvel just blew your mind. So let's talk about it.